Hello, welcome to another Breakthrough Assault unboxing video. I'm Lee Parnell. I'm recording from somewhere in the south of England. Now tonight we're going to be taking a look at another of the Battlefront Bulge British releases, as we take a look at my personal favourite, the Comet. It's Comet time, baby! Yeah! The Comet Armoured Troop is the latest release in Battlefront for the Bulge British book. The Comet Tank marks the last of the cruiser range. The British tank doctrine was split between infantry tanks, such as the Matilda and the Churchill, and then the cruiser tanks, which started with the A9 in 1939 and proceeded all the way through until the Comet at the end of the war. The Comet marks the second attempt to up-gun the Cromwell design. The first attempt, the Challenger, just simply mounted a 17-pounder on a stretched and widened chassis. The result was a fairly clumsy tank with a very powerful gun, but which did not really serve well other than basically as a tank destroyer. Instead, with the Comet, the Cromwell chassis was designed to be modified to take a new gun, the Vickers 77mm high velocity gun. This married a 3-inch anti-aircraft gun cartridge with projectiles from the 17-pounder, including the APDS round, a HE round and smoke. An interesting point with the 77mm was that it wasn't actually 77mm. As noted, it was based on the 3-inch anti-aircraft gun cartridge, so technically it was 76.2mm. However, as the round wasn't actually debatable with a 17-pounder, the decision was made to call it 77 to differentiate it. The hull took many lessons from the Cromwell it was based on, but also made improvements too. The Meteor engine and Christie suspension on the Cromwell was retained, along with the revised driver hatches that were introduced later in the Cromwell production. The hull was changed from a riveted construction to an all-welded construction, removing a weak point from the earlier Cromwell design. But the whole front and weak belly armour of the Cromwell was retained to speed production and get the tank into combat quicker, despite the faults of these design features being known. Despite these compromises, there are still delays on the construction of the Comet. 11th Armoured were picked as the first unit to be equipped with them, but they didn't receive their tanks until December 1944. The Battle of Bulge forced 29th Armoured Brigade to take back its Shermans and fight in the line for 2 months, and it wasn't until March that they were ready to actually face combat. They made their debut in the Rhine River crossing. After the bridgehead was secured, the tanks broke out and headed deep into Germany. Ultimately, 26 tanks were destroyed of a production run of 1,186 produced. The original plan being for 3,000, but the actual end of the war meant that, and the arrival of the Centurion meant those numbers were cut. The tank enjoyed some success after the war. The surplus tanks were used by Cuba, Finland, Ireland, Burma, Somalia and South Africa in varying numbers. In game terms, the Comet appears in the Comet Armour Squadron. This has a HQ of 1 to 2 Comets, backed up by the Cromwell CS tank, the Comet never having a CS variant, and then 1 to 4 troops of 3 to 4 tanks. Look at the unit card, there's a lot to like about the Comet. It has decent medium tank armour of front armour 7, side armour 5. It has a main gun with a range of 36 inches and an anti-tank of 14. And it achieves this without losing HE or a smoke round. Its speed is very much like the Cromwell it's based on, with Tactical 12, a slightly slower dash speeds over most ground, but still has a Crosser 3+. It also builds on lessons learnt by British tank design and keeps the projected ammo, giving it a 3+ remount. All in all, apart from the fact it's top armour 1, so you can't really assault with very much, the Comet is a very effective tank in pretty much any scenario you can throw it into. Its tactical speed of 12 inches, combined with its excellent gun, makes it a threat to German tanks from any angle. Ultimately, it's a tank that can dance like a Cromwell, but sting like a firefly. Battlefront were kind enough to supply us with a box Comets, so let's take a look inside and see what we get. As shown in the front of the box, there are 5 sprues inside, plus a commander sprue. That's a standard commander sprue we get in every box. We also get 1 sheet of decals. The decals contain British markings, Allied stars, and then the armour service and squadron markings for B Squadron of 23rd Hussars. So it's fine if you want to do donkey wallopers, but if you want to do free RTR, you're going to have to do your own numbers. And frankly, why aren't you doing free RTR? It's quite generous with the number of whole MGs you get. I found that removing them from the sprue can be quite difficult until you learn the hot knife trick, as we'll cover a little bit later. We also get a generous amount of stowage with an ammo box, 2 lots of tracks and a fuel tank. That's always nice to see. There's no road wheel, but it's usually enough from the Cromwell and Challenger kits that you can sort of nab a few to put on there. As I said earlier, the Commander sprue is your standard Commander sprue we've been getting in every late war box. And you'll see one of the ones here has come off, but that's fairly late in the box, that's not a problem. The sprue's got quite a lot of detail, especially on the engine deck and hull front. The fact we have a separate hull plate means we can keep all the detail for the driver's hatch and the machine gun position. The turret is a little slab-sided, but again, you can't really do much about that because the real tank was like that. The mantlet is good, it's got the canvas cover in place. I can't have many complaints about that. So yeah, I think it's on the sprue that's pretty good. So let's get all these parts off and cleaned up, and then we'll see how it builds. Okay, so having got the machine gun off and cleaned the parts up, standard Battlefront assembly, bottom hull, tracks, rear plate, top hull, hull plate with machine gun, 3-part turret with your gun, single piece, buttoned and unbuttoned turret, computer options, and some bits of stowage, plus the world's fiddliest searchlight, which we'll get onto in a second. So I'm just going to run through the construction. As always, we get a nice handy component, so it's impossible to sit the trucks the wrong way. I'm sure somebody will manage it. Back plate on. Again, like the Challenger, the Comet is a single model kit. You can only really build one variant from it, which makes sense because there isn't really many variants of the Comet during the war. There's a slightly later production with this pattern of the cowling for the actual thing, which is built in on this. So unlike on the Comet, so it has a single piece, this has 2 pieces on it. If you really wanted the original dual piece version, obviously you could probably get some spares from the Challenger or the Cromwell kit and put on there. I'll put on the whole plate. I recommend switching to a pair of tweezers at this point, just to hold it in place. Okay, no hold on. Turret, much the same as your standard Battlefront construction. Just want a little bit of glue around there. Now we put on the stowage bin. I just put 2 little dots of holster cement either side because these little tabs will pick up on that. Okay. And then take our choice. Not going to get in, I can't remember which one I need, whether I need it unbuttoned or a buttoned one. A little bit of glue on the gun. Again, got a little D shape insert to make sure the gun goes in only the right way. Let's see if I can do this without dropping the searchlight. Okay, make sure. Done. I've been waiting for the Comet for quite a while. I bought 2 boxes back when they were released in version 3 and didn't really do anything with them at the time. And when Late War started its journey in the version 4 range, I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for the Comet to arrive. Thankfully, I'm glad to report that it's been worth the wait. The speed of the tank and its firepower makes for a very fun tank to play with. It gives you lots of options in how you approach an enemy, being able to both kill enemy gun teams, infantry, tanks with equal effectiveness, whilst also laying down smoke on anything you can't kill until you can get onto its side with its excellent speed and put a shot on the side. I had some really good practice games versus Eddie ahead of the actual warfare tournament, where I put the tanks through its paces and I was getting to a real good flow with the smoke rounds and then dashing and trying to hit the side with a 12-inch tactical. Made for a very a dancing kind of weave and jab kind of approach to gaming. I got to use the tank in 3 of my 5 games at Warfare. The other 2 times I was playing my Brigade Panthers to avoid red and blue. And the Comet gave me 2 wins and a loss, whereas my Brigade Panthers gave me no wins at all. And really the 3rd game versus Eddie, I sort of wasn't playing them to their advantages. It's interesting that my game versus Luke, I really played into the defensive mindset and was conserving my strength, waiting for the right times to hit, waiting for my reinforcements, where when I was playing Eddie, in very much a similar sort of scenario where I had to really wait for my reserves to arrive, I kind of just rushed in and got shot up because I wasn't really using the tank to its advantages. It's a great tank to build, builds quickly and produces a really nice looking model. My only real issue with the design is the actual way the machine guns are mounted to sprue. But once you learn the trick of using a hot knife blade to cut them off, it's relatively easy to deal with. The rest of the tank design didn't really have any major issues apart from the spotlight being a little fiddly to mount. So it shares with the Cromwell, and happy to report that the actual Challenger largely fixed that, as you'll see in the last unboxing. I've now built 10 tanks, and I plan to build the rest of the actual squadron at some point. I've certainly got enough models to do that now. And my aim is to, have all 4 troops and a fully equipped HQ to allow for all the B Squadron 3 RTR to be represented. Now, obviously, that's not an army that's going to appear on a tabletop that often, though having a friend with a bar and a large table does help make that a potential reality. This is really more of a passion project, I guess. I really want to be able to do a full squadron of the tanks, of the Comet tank. It's going to be interesting to see how it fares, especially with what I expect will be an even cheaper, reluctant trained horde of tanks appearing in the Berlin books for the Germans. I'm also quite tempted to try and do some sort of Operation Unthinkable games versus late pattern Soviet tanks, just try out that scenario. I'm curious to see if the actual Comet will appear in the actual sort of earlier versions of Team Yankee with Checkpoint Charlie. It's probably a bit too late for it to appear in the 1960s, though Ireland and Finland had it. But certainly if I ever do a career book, or like say an Operation Unthinkable book, I could see a Comet getting some more use, which could be really fun. If the tank has a failing, it's that it's relatively expensive and that the crew not being veterans means that sometimes when you want to blitz, it isn't an option. The Cromwell CS tank you pair up the HQ with also suffers sometimes from being trained rather than veteran. I guess this just really reflects the actual crews being new to the tank, even though they themselves are veterans of the fighting from D-Day all the way through to, like say, the end of the war. On the other hand, it does, like say, at least keep the tank's cost down somewhat, which is no bad thing. So yeah, it's a really nice model. It's a really fun tank to play with. I thoroughly recommend getting some Comets. I'm really hoping that people actually start sort of moving away from the double M10C cookie cutter style armies we saw at Warfare and actually start looking at putting Comets into force. Admittedly, having a single formation prevented anyone trying to embrace the idea, like say, doing a 2-formation force with Comets backed up by infantry. But I'm really looking forward to getting some more game series over the next few months. Like I say, now I've got a 110 point force, I can just do 100 points. It gives me lots of options to play the other guys with. Although this week we're playing some shop games, so obviously a Comet didn't get anywhere near those. So it'll all be Water Buffaloes and DD tanks. Anyway, that's my unboxing video. There's one more Bulge unboxing to come, which will be the Sexton/Ram tank. So obviously follow us and subscribe to us, so make sure you don't miss that. Like this video if you hopefully you did like it. Provide feedback in the comments, and if you really like what we're doing, then obviously throw us £1 a month at the Patreon to help keep this going. It's already bought, like say, some video equipment for doing these videos, and I've got this nice microphone for doing the podcast as well. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'll see you again soon.